York's very own muscle building coaches, Anthony Bevilacqua and Pete Kacharian, proudly present to you New York Muscle Radio.
What's up, guys? New York Muscle Radio, episode number 152. Do genetics actually limit your potential? How big can I get? What's my genetic potential? These are questions that are commonly heard of in the fitness world. And today, we go over the genetic potential and we go over these set limits that science has given us. It's your host, Anthony Bevilacqua, alongside my co-host, Big Pete Kacharian. What's up, big guy?
Every question you just asked, I must have asked myself that about 30, 40, 50 times a day when I first started training. I don't know about you.
I always just said, how big can I get? That was like one of the major questions I used to ask.
It's funny because when you first start training, I think that when you're getting those newbie gains in the beginning, your perception of how far you can take it is a lot greater than when you're a few years into the game and see, okay, the newbie gains leveled off. I'm immortal. This is about as far as I can go, and now I can grow at this rate. It's funny how that changes. You know, in the beginning, you think, all right, if I keep this up in 5 years, I'm going to be 230 pounds ripped. But then 2-3 years in, you're like, all right, I'm pushing for 180 solid. I don't know about you, but that was for me.
Yeah, for me, it was always like, you know, in the beginning, you know, you see start programs working a little bit and then they stop, they work, they stop, you know. So for me, it was always like, I must be on the wrong program. Mm-hmm. This is not right. So it's always me kind of looking for that one program that I was gonna go on and like blow up from.
Yeah, the magical program and the magic diet.
Yeah, exactly. Especially back then in the beginning because it was so different than it is now. Oh God, we should do a whole podcast on those stories, man. Because I have a ton. Because I've literally have tried everything. When I say everything, the shit that I've done. Like one time I put, I was gonna save this story, but I put because someone had told me that cayenne pepper burns fat, and you could add it in your shake. So I made my cousin a shake once. He really worked out, and I made him a shake after my house. So he was trying to lose weight. I was trying to gain weight. So I was like, oh, I heard if I'll put some secret ingredients in there. So I put so much cayenne pepper, dude. He threw the shake up because it was too spicy.
And that was something you probably drank regularly, right?
No, I wasn't trying to lose weight. But if I was, I probably would have.
Well, you believed it would work, I'm sure.
See, I don't know. Everyone always says, oh, it's so hard when you're trying to lose weight. Losing weight is hard. Losing weight is hard. Man, when you come from the opposite end, like the end that I came from, being skinny and trying to gain it, it's so much harder.
But you know what? I agree with you, and I actually came from that perspective that most people are talking about. You know, like when I first started training, my goal was to lose weight. It wasn't to gain weight. It wasn't to get bigger. It was to lose weight, and I'll still agree to that 100% to this day. Losing weight, burning fat is way easier than building muscle. Building muscle takes a long time. Gaining weight takes a long time, especially if you're doing it the right way. And burning fats, it's pretty much cut and dry. Put yourself in a calorie deficit and just let it work for you, you know?
Yeah, I mean, everybody always says, oh, it's so hard. I'm trying to lose weight. It's hard. It's not hard. It's really easy. You know what? To be honest, sometimes I'd rather diet.
Yeah, me too. I love when
it's like almost like a break when you diet.
I love when it's time to diet because I know the results are going to come fast and I'm going to see changes in the mirror and on the scale almost daily. You know, when you say, okay, now it's the off season, it's time to bulk. All right, I hope in the next 6 months to a year I can make some visible changes in the amount of muscle I put on. You know, not if you're a newbie. If you're a newbie, that's going to happen really fast. But if you've been training as long as me and Anthony, that's the mindset we take when we go into an off season or a bulking phase or a gaining phase, whatever you want to call it. It's okay, this year, what kind of improvements can I make?
Yeah, and it's such an annoying process. I don't know. Anyway, whatever. We get into that. I don't even know how. I'm like so full, man. I finished training clients and I just swallowed some lunch. I had so much food, so I'm like, I feel like, you know when you're just like digesting?
Yeah,
I had to like take a breath. At one point, I was like, I had a pound of turkey, ground turkey, 98% or 99, I don't even remember what it was. And I had like 6 pieces of bread because I cut the turkey up into like little pieces and I made like little hamburgers. I had some cheese, which actually we used to eat Jarlsberg cheese a lot, the light one. You ever have that?
I don't think so, no.
Oh, it's so good, man. But anyway, the like BJ's had they didn't have the Jarlsberg anymore, so they had like this other brand. It's called like Finlandy, something like that. But it's the same exact macros. And 2 slices of this cheese is like 14 grams of protein,
Not
but it's
bad.
like 2% or whatever. It's really good. But dude, this was so much better than the Jarlsberg. I was surprised. So anyways, I had that. I had a lot of protein just now. So it's like, when you eat all that and you're like, oh, it hits you.
Yeah, a pound of, what'd you say, it was 98 lean?
No, I think it was 99.
Or 99. A pound of 99 lean is pretty hard to put down. If it was like fatty protein, that goes down so much easier.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. It's more calories and goes down easier.
Yeah.
It's just because it's a little bit, it's like, I guess you could call it tougher because it's a little drier. Doesn't just slide down your throat like the nice fatty meat that you put in there.
Well, I wanted to save my fat because I had 6 cookies with that also, so.
All right, so I thought I ate a lot. You ate more than me. I actually I had a protein shake and then I had 6 jumbo eggs and 2 pretzel bagels with that, which was large for me, but I think you have me beat.
Yes, I'm like,
because there was definitely no cookies with mine.
Yeah, the protein hit me. I was actually fasted today. I worked till 1, my first block of clients till 1 this afternoon, and I didn't eat anything since last night at like 8 o'clock. So it's pretty fasted. So I was starving. That's why I was like, I just ate the cookies right away because I was so hungry.
Yeah, and it's funny when you do that. We've spoken about this before too. Now you'll probably be full for a while, even though that's a very small amount of your daily calories.
Yeah, it's like the one good thing about fasting. A lot of people are going to be asking, Anthony, why you fast? I guess I intermittent fast now. I'm an intermittent faster. I'm an IFer. But the only reason why is because I'm not a morning person anyway as far as breakfast goes. Like, I'm not hungry in the morning at all. Like, it doesn't bother me not to eat. So I'd rather just put extra time in sleeping and get up, do what I got to do, and then go right to work instead of like, for me, it's always impossible to make food in the morning. I'm just not hungry enough to actually eat. And it's always like usually a shake. So
yeah, shakes are always easiest in the morning. But yeah, it all depends on your schedule. If you have time to cook breakfast and stuff like that, some people like to, but most people never have time to spend all that time on breakfast, at least during the week.
Yeah. Do you have breakfast in the morning? Like, are you a bit like, do you actually sit down and make breakfast?
It depends on the day. I'd say 90% of the time, no. It's usually I'll have a shake, and if I'm feeling it, I'll have some cereal with it or something like that. But like
that's a best breakfast, man.
It's
easy.
So quick. It'll take you like 5 minutes from the time you walk into the kitchen till you're done. But very rarely there'll be days where maybe if I have time and I'm overly hungry or something like that, I might just be in the mood. All right, I want to make some eggs, hash browns and stuff like that. But it takes so much time. Sometimes I'll save that breakfast meal for like later in the day, just because like I said, I just had it now. That's actually my second meal today. I do last week I think I made it like 3 days in a row for like dinner. I made eggs, hash browns, stuff like that. Breakfast.
Yeah, breakfast foods are the best at night like that, like right before bed, like not before bed, but like your last meal of the day. Only because I think it's so easy. You can come in and just make eggs and that's it, eggs, bacon, whatever else you're going to have with it. It's easy.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I always like to keep my meals simple anyway, so that's one of the more simple ones. I do that, or I pick a protein source, usually either turkey, chicken, or I'll go with a red meat, and then I'll make some type of carb with it. That's pretty much it.
Oh, man, speaking of red meat, man, so I got this recipe the other day, right? I actually started following some recipes, but I have it in front of me, so I'll give everyone a listen to what it was so you guys can try it on your own. So I made this steak, man. Oh, my God. I didn't think it was going to be this good. So basically it's a rub. I've never used a rub. Have you ever used a rub?
No.
And not a rub and tug, man. A regular rub.
I'm not sure what type of rub you're talking about.
Like a rub, like a spice rub.
No, I haven't.
I've never tried that before. Basically what you do is you literally take all the dry herbs and spices and whatever, and you rub it on the steak and then you cook it. Holy shit, dude. I couldn't believe how good it was. I didn't think, I was like, this is not going to add anything to it. I'm sure you've seasoned meat before and it doesn't really taste much. Dude, holy shit. This was awesome. So I'm going to tell everyone what it is. So basically you take your steak. It was like 2 pounds of, I get a lot of meat now that I talk about it, but it was 2 pounds of flank steak. I didn't eat it all though. I cut it in half. So I like flank steak. I think flank steak is my steak of choice because it does add a lot of flavor to it. So I use flank steak, 1 tablespoon of chili powder, 1 teaspoon of cumin, half teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of paprika, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, a half teaspoon of salt, and 2 teaspoons of brown sugar. So basically you mix that all together in a pan, in a bowl. and then you literally rub it on the meat. Like you pat the meat down.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, holy shit. Like all you gotta do, then from there, you just put it, like cook it how you normally would cook it. I threw it on the barbecue for a couple minutes each side. Holy shit, man. I can't believe how good that was. I really wish you were there so you could have tried it with me. It was sick.
I'm sure it was good. It sounds really good. See, the thing.
It doesn't sound. Like when I read it, I'm like, this doesn't sound like anything. It doesn't sound that good when you listen to it. Dude, it was freaking unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean,
like it literally made the steak mouth watering. Like you sometimes you make steak on the barbecue, like it's kind of gonna be plain, blah blah blah. Dude, I couldn't believe how good it was.
Yeah, I mean, anything you do to add to the steak is gonna make it taste better. I'm just lazy, so I always just cook it, eat it. That's it.
I'm lazy too, and I'm going to do this from now on, man, because it really was good. It really added a lot of flavor to the food. I think next time, though, to get a little more creative, if you poke holes with a fork inside the steak and then rub it, some of the seasonings falls in the holes and it like cooks in the middle of it. But, dude, it was so good. I couldn't believe that. It was so good. And I was like, oh, this is so easy to do. And no calories. Normally when you marinate a steak or something, you have to marinate it in something else that has calories. I've heard of like orange juice before, marinating steak in like orange juice and other things like that, but it has calories in it. This is no calories.
Pretty soon, man, you're starting to talk like Chef Ramsay over here. It's gonna be
bam,
yeah,
bam. It's that Emerald.
Yeah. So we're gonna have a new segment on the next podcast.
Cooking with Anthony.
Yeah, Anthony's
kind of like our YouTube videos. So guys, if you guys haven't subscribed to that, go ahead and over to NewYorkMuscleRadio.com/video, and you'll see Cooking with Big Pete. We did another one actually, the other day.
Yeah, and that what did we make? Chicken. That chicken was really good.
Yeah, chicken with mushrooms.
I surprised myself with that one. I mean, it was definitely your ingredients and it was your recipe, but I was like, I don't know, it'll be all right. And then I ate it. I was like, oh, it was good. Really good.
The funny thing was we were literally just pulling stuff out of the cabinet. All right, let's make this. Let's make that. Let's add this to it. And it worked out good.
Yeah, like how much of this should I put on? Just dump the whole thing in there. I'm like, really? All right.
It worked.
It did.
Oh, man. So let's move on to the quote of the day, big guy. You have this all queued up. So today's quote's going to be a good one. I love this one. It's funny. And this is a famous quote.
Yeah, so
through fitness people have probably heard this before.
We're taking a break from the motivation and the inspirational type stuff, and we're switching it up a little bit. So, guys, listen to today's quote of the day.
The greatest feeling you can get in a gym, or the most satisfying feeling you can get in the gym, is the pump. Let's say you train your biceps. Blood is rushing into your muscles, and that's what we call the pump. Your muscles get a really tight feeling, like your skin is going to explode any minute. It's really tight. It's like somebody blowing air into your muscle. It just blows up, and it feels different. It feels fantastic. It's as satisfying to me as coming is, as having sex with a woman and coming. So can you believe how much I am in heaven? I'm like getting the feeling of coming in the gym. I'm getting the feeling of coming at home. I'm getting the feeling of coming backstage when I pump up, when I pose out in front of 5,000 people. I get the same feeling. So I'm coming day and night. I mean, it's terrific, right?
Pete, are you going to play the quote?
Yeah, let me get to that. Give me a minute.
Yeah, man, I love it. That is the reason why we chose this for the quote of the day. And again, the quote of the day is whatever we want it to be. It doesn't have to be motivational. Sometimes that stuff can get a little repetitive. But the reason why we chose this quote was because it's such a famous fitness quote, and so many people have like butchered it and tried to like reiterate it. So I just think it's cool if we played it on here and you guys could hear it firsthand. But Arnold actually said, I think it was in the making of Pumping Iron, he said that he had to say outrageous things like that because he knew that that's what's going to get people to more drawn to it. So he goes, no, it has nothing to do, is the pump better than coming? He says, no, it has nothing to do with the other. I just kind of said it.
Right. I mean, I guess if you're trying to make something sound really great, that's a good comparison, But yeah, anybody who's worked out regularly, or I should say, but there's probably some people that disagree with me. I'd have to say I agree with Arnold. No, it's not as good.
You agree? Oh, it is?
No, I'm saying the truth of Arnold, not from the movie, like in the making in that interview when he said, no, it's not as good,
I could see you in the mirror, man, flexing your arm, like looking at yourself like,
I'd say it's almost as good, but it's not as good, no.
Damn, look at me. Look at this big hunk of man. Look at you.
Yeah, I've done that a couple of times. Probably more than a couple. Yeah.
But it's so funny. Like this is the shit that goes viral. You know, like this is the shit that gets people's attention. I mean, it's funny. It's not like it's not funny, but a lot of people didn't hear that, but never heard. I'm sure there's someone listening to this who never heard that Arnold say that before, and maybe have heard the expression. So that was Arnold's words right there. Oh, is the pump better than coming?
I'd be surprised if nobody heard that listens to us.
I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's
Yeah.
got to be. Is the pump better than coming? I mean, the pump is a fantastic feeling, though, man. When you get that pump on your upper body and you're done with a set, and you look up at yourself and you're like, "Wow,
Yeah,
I wish I would stay like this all the time."
You know what it is too? It's the pump makes you feel great, but then at the same time, there's really no way you can get a pump without also releasing some endorphins from training. So I think it's the combination of both of them, because I always feel great just releasing some endorphins, even if I'm doing, like, let's say cardio, and I hate cardio, but I love the feeling that I do get when I do release some endorphins. I always feel better. But a good pump combined with some endorphins, I think that's really like the
That'll
feeling.
lead to some release.
Yeah, definitely.
We have one hater on YouTube. This guy just hates when we talk perverted, so he's gonna flip out today. We're gonna get like 30 comments on this video on YouTube when he listens to it.
Why do you even bother bringing them up?
Because it's funny.
Yeah, I guess. Who really cares, though?
What you got there, man? What the hell are you drinking? I never seen you with a water
Oh,
bottle.
yeah. I've this is actually my third of the day. I'm drinking.
Pete has like so Pete, they can't see you, but Pete has a jug of water.
I was gonna describe it. it's a half a gallon jug of water. So I had a gallon of water so far. So this is full. This is the third one.
I've never seen you with one of those, man.
I've actually had
taking results seriously.
I've had this for a long time, but I'm just trying to monitor my water a little bit more lately. And it's so much because I always just drink bottles of water, and I end up not finishing them. I'll take half a bottle, leave it there, then grab another one. So I'm like, screw it, just take the bottles and pour it in one big jug. I'm not filling it up with tap water the way you do it. This is actually I'm drinking bottled water right here. It's probably.
Wait, so let me ask you a question. So, and you are known for that. You'll drink half a bottle and just leave it there and then grab another one. Now, is the reason why you grab another bottle because you think that the bottle that was already open is infected with germs?
No.
Yes, it is, man. You're such a liar.
No. Well, that could be a reason. I'm not saying that like that's the reason. Like I don't leave bottles around. No. I'm saying like if I leave a bottle somewhere and I walk away and I come back or whatever, and I'm like, I don't know if that's my water bottle. I'm not going to drink it, so I'll take another water bottle.
You're in the house with yourself.
No. Like if I leave them in my house, that's just out of laziness.
Yeah, but you've done that in your house. I've watched you literally leave a bottle of water.
Yeah,
you have like 30 by your desk.
Yeah, that's out of laziness. That's out of laziness, definitely. But this one, so now if I have a gallon with me, where's my water? Oh, it's right here, you know?
I'm telling you, man, soon you're going to be filling that with tap water.
Probably.
How's
that been working out for you? Any issues yet?
My liver's still in, so. But what do you get from tap water? Lead?
Yeah. Well, apparently it depends who you ask, too. You could be getting birth control. You could be getting Xanax.
Birth control? Really?
I sent you the link of like all the people talking about how if you drink tap water, there's like traces of birth control. There's traces of different medications. So if you're drinking tap water, you're getting traces of like all these like cancerous things and all this stuff that's going to mess with your hormone levels. And that.
So you strictly only drink bottled water?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't drink tap water.
Oh my God.
I drink like I have a Brita too. So I'll filter the water, but I generally won't purposely drink water out of tap. Like if I'm making like tea or something, then there's been times where I have used tap water, but I'll never like fill up a bottle.
Well, if you're using tea, you boil it. It's different.
Yeah. Or if I'm like cooking and stuff, I'll use the tap water. It's not like I won't use tap water, but like I'll never fill up a jug of water with tap. I'm not saying that there's really any reason not to. I'm just saying I don't do it. I'm not saying my reason is valid. I'm not telling people they shouldn't do that. Anthony's been doing that. He's fine. I don't think...
I've been doing that for years, man.
I think he's still fertile. I don't think the birth control got to him, so I think he's okay.
Yeah. Well, wow. Hey, listen, it's kind of scary when you think about it, but if you don't think about it, it's fine. It's like the 5-second rule, you know?
Yeah, I guess. That 5-second rule is actually legitimate. You know that, right?
What do you mean legitimate?
They did a... What was that show, like Mythbusters, I think it was? They had the 5-second rule.
Why do you know this? Why do you know this stuff? You know these facts. All right, Howie, go ahead. Howie Menzel.
So they wanted to test if the 5-second rule was legitimate. So for anybody who doesn't know the 5-second rule is if you drop something on the floor, if you something you're eating, let's say, if you drop a piece of candy on the floor, if you pick it up within 5 seconds of it hitting the floor, you can still eat it because it doesn't have the germs on it. But if you let it sit there, then it has germs because it touched the floor. So on I believe it was Mythbusters. I saw it was an episode on TV. They wanted to test if that theory was true, to see if 5 seconds really makes a difference. And what do you think the result was?
Well, I'm assuming based on what you said that there was no germs collected on it.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. They definitely said that the 5 second rule applies, but there's a gray area to it. It's not black and white. So what do you think the result was?
I don't know.
So after 5 seconds, there's like, I think up to, don't quote me on the number here, but there's something like 50 or 60% more germs and bacteria on it than it is within 5 seconds. You're still always going to pick up some germs when it touches the floor. But after it's been there for 5 seconds, it actually picks up more germs than if you picked it right up off the floor. This is according to Mythbusters, all right? Yeah. This is not New York Muscle Radio approved. I'm just saying what I saw on Mythbusters.
Oh, Howie Mandel. You're such a germaphobe, man. It's crazy.
I'm just telling you what I saw on TV.
The first time I noticed it when we were in Ohio last year and we shared a room, and I happened to just look up at Pete, and I was like, Pete, shut the light off. And he went to shut the light off, and he stuck his hand into his shirt and touched the light off with his shirt. I was like, what? Did he just fucking do that?
I have two things to say to that. Number one, that hotel was the most disgusting hotel.
Well, yes, agreed. But it's the fucking knob, man. You're not eating off of it.
The most disgusting hotel I've ever been in. And number two, I believe that was the bathroom light. Why were you watching me in the bathroom?
No, I told you to shut the light. It was in the hallway.
I don't know. But guys, that hotel was the most disgusting hotel we've ever been in. In fact, and me, of course, if anybody doesn't know, my entire luggage got soaked with toilet water after Anthony used the toilet in that disgusting hotel. So I left about 90% of my wardrobe behind in Ohio.
Yeah, the funny thing was I didn't do number 2 in the toilet. I just pissed.
Yeah,
and
well,
it
that's
just started
good.
Overflowing like crazy.
And it made its way onto my clothes and my bag and my luggage.
Yeah, it was pretty hilarious. Oh, God. All right, man, let's move on to the trending topics. So New York Muscle Radio's trending fitness topics. I got a couple of topics to talk about. So the first one, I actually saw this on Facebook, and I just shook my head, and I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. But this woman has this cat that's very fat. I'm not kidding. This is a story. This cat's very fat, and she wanted the cat to lose weight. So she was afraid that if she exercised the cat would get hurt because the cat was that overweight. Uh-huh. So she went to like this facility that had like an underwater treadmill and put the cat in the water to walk on the treadmill to lose weight. Now, the reason why I bring this up was because it has to do with losing weight. Yeah. And you know, I have dogs. I'm a pet friendly person. If your cat is significantly overweight like that and you want your cat to lose weight, why not just cut back the cat food?
I don't know. That's what I was about to say. How about not making it exercise? Just stop eating as much.
Yeah, because people don't understand that.
You can show how much the cat eats anyway, so you just stop feeding it.
Exactly. This is what I'm saying. People are nuts. But how many people do that, man? Think about it. Even they do that in their own lives. This is kind of why I brought this up. You know, people will do endless amounts of cardio, try to lose weight. You know, the main underlying factor is the diet. Just fucking diet.
Because people think, okay, I'm fat or I'm overweight because I don't exercise enough. And yeah, that's part of it. But the bigger problem, you just eat too much. You know, and a lot of people go for the smaller piece of the puzzle. Okay, I'll just start exercising. That's not going to get you that far if you're still eating like shit, you know?
Then usually what happens is, and I'm sure people listening to this have actually done this before. It's like, oh, I did extra cardio today. I can eat this.
Yeah. So like it defeats the purpose anyway, because sometimes people end up eating worse. Oh, I did good today. I could eat this, you know?
I earned this.
I know so many people that just diet and lose weight and don't even go to the gym. It's not necessarily the best way to go about it, but you know what? You get some great results if you're a busy person. You know, my brother's really busy. My brother, he works crazy hours. He's an accountant. He probably is at work every single hour except for the time he's sleeping, more or less. I'd have, you know, especially when it gets busy. And he says, I have no time to go to the gym, so I just diet. And you know what? He can lose 20, 30 pounds over the course of a couple of months not going to the gym and dieting. But then you get the people who go to the gym for months on end and don't change anything with their lifestyle as far as the diet, and they see little to no progress, and they wonder why.
Well, it always comes back to the age-old question that I never hear this question anymore, but I heard it so much when I was younger and coming up, and the same, I'm sure you heard this before. Would you rather have a master nutritionist or a master trainer?
Are you asking me that one?
I'm asking you because you don't remember that question?
I remember that question. But the answer, I guess
There's
I would
no
say,
answer. It was
yeah,
always
there's
like
no
just a question
there's no
that
answer. I would think the funny thing is, I would think now, if you ask me that question looking back when I was young and just starting, I would definitely say a master trainer. That I would
No, see, I said nutritionist always back then.
Yeah, see, I would have said master trainer. Now today, I would say master nutritionist by far.
Really? And for me, it's the opposite.
Yeah?
I would have said master nutritionist then, and now I would say master trainer. So, guys, if you could pick one, a master trainer or a master nutritionist to guide you, which one would you want? Head on over to facebook.com/New York Muscle Radio and let us know. You could even do it in our group, to the New York Muscle Radio group, which has actually been quite busy.
Yeah, lately, especially the last week or so. So I'm glad everybody's active on there. I'm actually trying to post on there too and keep you guys updated in the group because I'm pretty bad with Facebook. I post on Instagram most out of all my social media platforms. Facebook I really don't use too much, but I've been starting to use the group a little bit more just as a way to connect with you guys. But I don't really post too much of my own content on there or put anything up there. I'll probably start doing it a little bit more, but the group is pretty cool. It's a nice little community of all the New York Muscle Radio family.
Yeah, so I don't know. Going back to our topic, I definitely would have picked the nutritionist then and the trainer now. I think that the trainer now, I've learned over the years that training is more important than the diet. That's
Depends on your goal.
It's not true. It's not true. But the diet's easy. The diet's easy.
Yeah,
it's calories in versus calories out. Back then, I always used to think it was magical foods I had to eat like in certain combinations. Now I know, better than that.
I think, yeah, for your situation, the training is by far more important than the diet, only because, like you said, in this part of your career or whatever your goals are, your diet really just has to be dictated by calories in versus calories out, and your training is really going to make the difference for your goals because you're trying to get as strong as humanly possible. For the average person, you take anybody, I would definitely say they would all do better with a master nutritionist because they could help them either lose weight or gain muscle, provided that they're training right in the gym. But training, you can pretty much do same thing with the diet. If the nutrition is on point, you can train suboptimal and still get results provided your diet's on point, but you're not going to get to your max results. That's going to take a master trainer. But to get the basics and to have some improvement, it's not too complicated.
But I figured this out, man. If our listeners want a master trainer or a master nutritionist, they just got to hire New York Muscle Radio for coaching, man, because I'm the master trainer and you're the master nutritionist.
That's the combination, man. You know what it is, too? My passion out of the two is actually more in the nutrition than the training. At this point, definitely.
Mine is, too. I have a degree in nutrition.
Yeah.
I have a degree in nutrition, but I'm more interested in the training part of it right now. I feel like I know it. Not that I hate to sound arrogant and say that I know everything when it comes to the nutrition end of it, but
yeah, but the thing is with nutrition, there's not, like, once you learn it, there's not much you're going to learn. You know what I mean? When you learn what works, it's like every single time you have to go through a dieting phase, it's going to work again. If you know what it takes to diet. To gain, you know what it takes to gain. So once you figure that out, it's a matter of repeating the process and making the proper adjustments. With training, you can train a certain way for years, make progress. Your body's going to hit a wall. If you keep banging on that wall, you're not going to pass it. You're going to have to reformulate things, take a different approach to get around it. So it's always a constant struggle to keep, I don't even know if you'd call it a struggle because some people like it. I'm sure you enjoy it too, but to keep overcoming that obstacle. With nutrition, you know what it takes, and you just have to make the proper adjustments.
All right, man, let's move on. The other trending fitness topic I have is the Iron Addicts gym actually closed down and got busted for steroids. So the Iron Addict gym is, what's his name? I can't think of the guy's name off my head right now.
C.T. Fletcher.
Thank you. He, famous YouTube guy, screams, what does he scream? Go, let it grow. What does he say? What does he say? I command you to grow.
Yeah, he screams a lot of stuff, yeah.
But he has a gym apparently in Florida that just got busted for steroids.
So it was his gym?
Yeah, I think he's co-owner in it.
Yeah, I believe it could be totally wrong, but I think there's more than one Iron Addicts gym. I don't know if all the owners are the same or if it's a chain or whatever it is. What part?
I think it's a chain.
Where was this one?
Miami.
This was Miami, yeah, because I know there's one in Miami. I feel like there's more than one Iron Addict gym, but it could be, maybe I'm wrong, but I think there is more than one. But Wow, I actually didn't even realize that was his gym. I've heard of
Isn't it Iron Addict him? Isn't it him?
that's his I don't know if it's actually his, but
Brand?
he's the face of that brand. Yeah. I'm sure there's other partners, silent partners behind it. Maybe he had something to do with it, maybe he didn't. I have no idea. But I guess that's a little bit of a black eye for him, you know?
Yeah, I'd say so. It's just so funny, you know. The government is so much after steroids, and I get it, but if they actually made it legal, it would totally change the supplement industry, you know? Because I feel like
Yeah.
you know, drugs are one thing, and obviously you don't want kids taking drugs and stuff, but kids are taking behind, you know, over the counter stuff that's worse than the drugs.
Right. Yeah. You know what it is? It's screwed up because I guess the reason they control this stuff is not so much because they want to incriminate people for it, but because they do it as a way for uninformed and stupid people, to put it bluntly, to protect those stupid people from hurting themselves. Because that's the other problem. A lot of stupid people will end up hurting themselves if things are just readily available to them, you know?
Yeah, but think about it. So if I wanted to get big, I can go in any supplement store and pick up any, what are those things called? SARM or Pro Hormone.
Yeah. Well,
And
theoretically, you shouldn't be able to.
I could literally take 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah.
No, they're legal.
No,
Are they
but no. Well, the
Whatever,
FDA
man,
is actually.
you get the fucking idea.
Yeah,
I can order
that's a
online.
gray area. Yeah.
I can go in the store. I can buy a gray area supplement. I could buy 2 or 3 of them and mess myself up even more permanently than if I was to use the drugs. You're gonna sit here and tell me that something like a SARM or something like all these other stuff that's out there is safer than a Dianabol drug?
No, definitely
Dianabol's
not.
studied and, you know, tried and true, I guess, right?
Yeah, it has no medical purpose.
But there's
so-
studies done on it. It's not someone didn't make this in their lab and just start selling it.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a drug that's been around for a long time, and that's the case with a lot of. I mean, America's run off of the government, and they have to say if something's going to be put on the shelves or if it's going to be for medical use or not medical use. And a lot of those reasons are not necessarily health related. A lot of them are business related, and a lot of them for different reasons. So I don't know really what the reason behind certain things in the I guess you could say the bodybuilding supplement industry are considered legal and others aren't. Like I said, I think most of it is to protect people from hurting themselves.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm saying I believe that would be the reasoning behind it.
Well, look at the whole thing with weed. Now weed's becoming legal.
Yeah, well, see,
And that was
the thing with that was it was never, despite what people believe, it was never really illegal because it was going to harm you, you know? That wasn't the reason. It wasn't, okay, we can't let people consume this because it's going to hurt themselves. They're going to hurt themselves.
Isn't it so nuts? All right, man, let's move on to the other trending topic today. And this is actually your trending topic. I want you to talk about that bicep study that you put out in our New York Muscle Radio group on Facebook.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I forgot about that, actually. It was random. I came across it. I don't have it in front of me, so I'm going to... Actually, I'll pull up what I put on Facebook. But it was a study done by ACE to find out what the best bicep exercise was. And that was the title of the study.
Fred Hatfield would be very annoyed that you pulled up something from ACE and not ISSA.
I don't believe ISSA has actually run a bicep study or anything like that. If they did, I would love to look at it. I came across the first one I could find, and it was by ACE. So that's the one I went off of. And basically the idea behind it was to find out, because biceps is such a popular body part for people to train in gyms, what the best exercise for targeting biceps is. So their goal was to find the best one that targets it. Now, so what they did was they said, we're going to take the 8 most common bicep exercises and we're going to study them. So what they did was, I'm going to pull it up right here. This is the exact quote from them. To determine which exercise is the most beneficial for activating the biceps, researchers compiled a list of the 8 most commonly used exercises for targeting the biceps. So again, the word here is activating. They did the cable curl, the barbell curl, the concentration curl, the chin up, the easy curl, both with a wide and a narrow grip, and the incline curl and a preacher curl. So
The chin up one.
yeah, the chin up actually ranked fairly high on there, but
Really?
yeah. So basically, what they found was the exercise that resulted in the most amount of muscle activation was concentration curls.
Boom. Told you.
So that's Anthony's favorite bicep exercise. It's probably one of my least favorite. I can't argue with this, and I said this on Facebook too. I can't argue that if you're going strictly off of muscle activation, the concentration curl definitely has a lot of these exercises beat, simply because it is easily the most isolated and concentrated out of all of these exercises. So there's no other tension placed on anything, anywhere, but the bicep throughout the entire movement.
How far ahead was the concentration curl versus the other ones?
I can pull it up. Let me see if I can find it. It was
because I've been saying that for years, man. Since this podcast started, if you guys scroll back to, I think it's one of the first episodes I've ever done was which movements for mass or something like that. It was all the way in the beginning. It might have been like episode 6 or something like that. When it came time for biceps, mine was concentration curls. So that's marked down, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, see, what I also wrote on Facebook was based on this, I do agree 100% that it will activate the biceps the most out of all those exercises because it's such a strict movement. However, when you're talking about building muscle, that's, again, only going to be one part of the equation. You definitely want to activate the muscle that you're trying to grow, but just because it's activated the most doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be the best for growth. You can argue, again, I don't have a study in front of me to say if this is true or not, but let's say if you were to compare the leg extension versus a squat, you can argue that the quadriceps are actually activated more in a leg extension as opposed to a squat. But which one actually builds more muscle? By far the squat, by far.
Leg extension. Now I'm thinking, as we're talking, I'm kind of thinking about it. What if, and again, you'll probably use that same leg analogy on me, and I don't know if that would be true or not, but so basically you're going to get the most activation from a concentration curl. So what if biceps were a lagging body part? If you have trouble hitting your biceps, because I know definitely in the beginning for me, when I was doing curls with a straight bar or even with dumbbells, it's very hard to feel the bicep actually contract and work. It's not until you do a movement like concentration curl, you actually feel the bicep, elongate and stretch and squeeze and so on. So now if you did a concentration curl first, like a couple of light sets to kind of warm up, and then went into barbell work, if it would be more efficient because you've thoroughly activated the bicep and actually engaged it.
I'd actually say if I had, it depends on the person, to be honest with you. It really depends.
Obviously.
But I'd have to say, if you were to do that, I would actually combine it in the reverse order. So I would do the concentration curls at the end. Because you do want to get if you're not feeling it in your biceps and your arms are a small body part on you, what you're doing is your technique is obviously off and you're not using the correct exercises that fit your structure the right way. So you do still want to lift heavy and you want to lift with enough volume, which is another reason I said in this, based on this article, it's not necessarily the best to build muscles, because when you go so light on something like a concentration curl, you're limiting the amount of volume.
Curls, though.
Yeah, but you're an anomaly. Most people do concentration curls with 15 pounds, 20 pounds, but they can do barbell curls with 90 pounds, 100 pounds, or whatever. So if you're doing a concentration curl and you're going so light with it and you're feeling it, yes, you're activating those muscles, but what does muscle respond to? It responds to overload. It responds to additional volume. It responds to additional weight. So if you're just pumping 15-pound dumbbells, you're getting a minimal amount of volume and a minimal amount of overload, but yes, you're activating the biceps. So that should be in there. You're always going to want to activate the muscle that you're trying to grow. But if you're doing those compound movements, if you're doing those heavy barbell curls, those heavy dumbbell curls, which are not compound movements, but if you're doing your compound movements and you're doing those heavy isolation movements, but you're still not feeling it directly in the biceps, you're doing some volume, you're hitting some heavy weights, but you want to actually get a movement in there where you are activating the muscle that you're training. If you do that first, it might take away from those other movements. Overall, it might not make a huge difference, but if your biceps respond to those basic movements like mine do, there's no reason to try to activate it more or less. And to be honest with you, I get a better pump doing these movements that ranked lower on this muscle activation chart as well. Because to be honest with you, the one that ranked 8th on this list was the preacher curl. And I think that the preacher curl is actually almost as effective, if not more effective, at isolating the biceps than a concentration curl.
Man, no way. I hate the preacher curl. Because when I do a preacher curl, man, I feel my shoulders come up and I don't feel it in my biceps at all, man. It really depends on the bench that I'm using on for preacher curl.
That too, the angle, and if you're using a machine. It didn't say if it was a machine or if it was a free weight. There's a big difference between that too, because a machine or a cable is going to have constant tension throughout the whole range of movement. A regular, most preacher curls, the angle, if it's on a 45-degree angle, probably about half the movement, the tension's on the bicep. The top of the movement, the barbell's just resting on your shoulders.
Yeah, and actually, when you stretch the bottom with a preacher curl, you're actually using the shoulder too, because it kind of, even if it lifts up a little. That's why I don't like the preacher curl too much.
I love a good cable preacher curl. I think that's a great movement, but cable curls actually ranked second on this list. So I'd be curious if a cable preacher curl was on this list, if it would rank first or second. You know,
I hate cable curls too.
My biggest,
not a fan of them.
My biggest issue with this whole study, and I said this too, is they said the 8 most basic bicep exercises, but the dumbbell curl is not even on here.
Oh, really?
That was the problem. I said I said they said the 8 most basic, and they put chin-ups on here. You know, and they didn't even put a dumbbell curl.
That's odd. But I don't know. That was a cool study. It was a cool find, man. It was a cool find. And it's on your favorite body part.
Yeah, so I had to read it. And I said, you know, I disagree with it to some extent. The part that I do agree is, out of those, yes, most likely I would expect the concentration curl to have the most activation. But does that make it the best bicep exercise? It depends on what your goal is. If you're trying to build muscle, it might not necessarily be the best. But if you're trying to activate that muscle because you don't feel it on any other exercises, yeah, I'm sure you're going to do that. Because you got to understand too, if you take a study on just muscle activation, you're going to activate more muscle fibers by going lighter, squeezing the weight, and lowering it slowly. You're going to have more muscle activation than if you just move a heavy weight from point A to point B. But in real life application, heavy weight from A to B will generally do a lot more for stimulating muscle growth, especially over the long term if you're progressively overloading it. You know, how often do you feel your quads burn when you're squatting? But you got some big ass quads. You know? This is why
the ARM program works so well.
It takes into, if you think about all the aspects of everything we're just talking about, it actually takes into account almost all of that.
Yeah, exactly.
I never sat down and said, okay, we need to do this, this, and this because on science it shows us. It was more practical application. And now if you put the pieces back together, it does all these things. You know, we're lifting those heavy weights, but we do incorporate in there a lot of stuff that is purely activating for the muscles.
Oh, that's why that program works.
It does.
All right, man, let's move on to the Fitness Business Corner. So again, guys, welcome to the Fitness Business Corner of the New York Muscle Radio podcast. This segment is a new addition to the podcast because we get so many questions regarding fitness and business. So we figured we might as well make this a regular portion of the podcast. In this segment, we're going to go over anything you need to help the fitness professional grow and expand their business. If you're interested in growing your fitness business, head on over to newyorkmuscleradio.com/business. So today's topic, and I like this one the best, scheduling your day. I think it's super, super important, especially when it comes to business, is that you control your schedule, because the more stuff that you can control, the more you're actually going to get done. Some entrepreneurs and some fitness entrepreneurs especially kind of wake up when they want, and today maybe I'll do this, today maybe I'll do that. And the problem with that is you're kind of haphazardly going about everything. It's the same thing. You know, these are the same people who will haphazardly go about their day with fitness, but then be so regimented on a program, it's like counterintuitive. You know, well, if you want to get good results in the gym, you have to plan out your workout routine. You have to plan out, your training blocks and your weeks of training. It's the same thing. If you want to grow your fitness business, you have to schedule out your day. So you have to allow for this amount of time to do this amount of time to do this, and it has to be done in advance. Even if you wake up that morning and plan out your day accordingly, then that's fine. But you have to just make sure you schedule, because you'll get so much more done when you schedule your time, and your time will become your own. If you don't do that, you kind of lose time to the day, and you waste time trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah. I'm definitely not the best person to give advice on this, but I can give you a perspective from somebody who's very bad with time management naturally, and what I've been able to do to improve on that, because I've definitely, especially within the last year, really improved my time management, because I'm one of those people where I might have a plan the next day, but then it kind of just goes out the window. One of the most simplest things that I've done.
Say what you wanted to say. It goes to shit. That's how Picacharian talks.
That's how Picacharian talks. Yeah. So plenty of times. I mean, we've all been there and had it. Okay, tomorrow I'm going to do this, this, and this, and none of it gets done. you know?
Yeah.
But what I've been doing, so for anybody who's like me, and this definitely has helped me, I actually have it right here. It's right next to me. I'll show it to Anthony too, because he might not believe me, but I have a little black book. See my little black book? I told him recently.
Which black book is that, man? Is that the girl black book, or is that the...
I'm not going to open it, so I can't really show you, but I have a black book, right? And in this black book, what I'll do two things with it. One, whenever I have a conversation with Anthony, and we're talking
looks like
about
a little
stuff,
Bible, man.
Yeah, it does, but
you need a Bible.
It
You're
does, but I'm writing. Maybe I'm writing a Bible in here. I'll sell it to you guys. It's gonna be the V's Bible. But
Bicep.
whenever I have a conversation with Anthony, a lot of times we'll be on the phone for an hour just brainstorming ideas, and we'll come up with a bunch of ideas. All right, Pete, we got to do this, 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 and this. And I'll say, yeah, exactly, perfect idea. And you know what? A lot of times, I'll hang up the phone and I'll say, all right, let's do this. I'll work on one of those things and I'll forget the other four if it was 5 things. So what I'm doing a lot now is I'm writing them down so that every day I got to look at this book and say, okay, what were my ideas or what were our ideas that we said we're going to work on or we're going to, start studying or whatever it is that we're going to put into action. I'll always have a reference to look back because a lot of times you forget, but when it's on paper, you can look back and you can say, okay, we have to work on this. That helps me dramatically. The other thing that I am doing with this book is every single day, I'm planning out a to-do list for the next day, not necessarily in order, but just a checklist of things that have to get done. So the next day when I wake up, the first thing I do is, okay, look at this list. What can I get done first? Then move on to the next one and just go check by check. And then what I got to do is the next day, I have to take a look at what I did today and whatever's missing on that list, it goes again to the tomorrow. So stuff has to get done. If you leave it up to yourself to remember to do things, you'll come up with creative ideas to forget about them or why you didn't do them. But when it's on paper and you're committed to following it, you really have no excuses. It's right in front of your face.
Where'd you get that from, writing it down?
I had a conversation with you about this, actually, and you said, yeah, you know what? Right, because you know what it is? I used to write stuff down in my notepad on my phone, but you never look back at the notepad on your phone. But when you have something physical in front of you, like a little black book like this, all right, you have to open it up at least once a day, you tell yourself. You open it up, and now you have all this shit written down in it. If you don't do it, then you just look at it like, wow, I'm lazy. I didn't do the stuff I said I was going to do. But you come up with these creative ideas to forget about things, so then you don't feel bad about it. But when it's written down on paper, you have no excuse.
Yeah, and you have to get it done.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I use that tip a lot. I used to write it down on my phone, and it just that didn't work out. That was like one of those things. Like I started, and then that was done. But writing things down on paper, like, look, here's my little notes. See it?
Yeah, that's the check I get when I go out to the diner.
Yeah. I have a whole bunch of these from when I had the food business. So I just use them for my notepad. But I write down everything that I need to get done, and I keep it on my desk, and I cross it off as I do it. But it makes me able to get a lot more done in my day. And if you don't do that, man, you're done. So for you fitness entrepreneurs, if you want more clients, you want to grow your business, schedule out tasks to do. Even if it's time to learn something, if you want to do research, put it into your day. Give yourself that time. Because remember, when you're an entrepreneur and you work for yourself, you don't have someone down your throat telling you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. So you got to be that same person for yourself. You have to hold yourself accountable, and scheduling your day is the way to do it. All right, man, let's move on to the listener question of the day. If you guys have a question you'd like us to answer, you could submit it on our website, newyorkmuscleradio.com. So listener question, or call your question in. And we have another calling question today, which I'm super excited about. 508-687-2534. Again, the number is 508-687-2534. I want you guys to call in. It's always great when we hear other people's voices other than our own. It breaks up hearing Big Pete's voice. So if you have a question and you're listening to this right now, call 508-687-2534. All right, let's play today's question.
Hi, my name is Kevin. I'm from Florida. I got a question for you. I classify myself as an intermediate lifter. Been lifting for about 12 years, not all that time intelligently. And right now I'm about 193 pounds, 9% body fat at 6 foot. So decent size, but I've never focused on strength for an extended period of time. So max squat is probably about 275, max bench maybe 240, max deadlift maybe 400. So I've done 5-3-1 a time or two and a 5x5. But if you're an intermediate lifter and you want to move on from starting strength or something, you're going to do about a 5x5 program, how would you all set that up? Monday, Wednesday, Friday? If I go to Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm really cutting my volume down because I usually lift about 5 days a week. Just curious. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Great question, man. You got that?
Yeah, that was a lot all in one question. But yeah, I mean, it's going to depend on person to person. In his situation, though, where it gets a little confusing, and this is what I would want to know first is he said, if an intermediate wants to move on from something like a 5x5 or a 5-3-1, right?
Move up, improve.
But he also said. Oh, okay, but he also said that he was cutting down his volume, that he was training 5 days a week, and he was going down to 3.
No, he said if he changes to something, it'll be cutting down.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, all right. So that's a little more. That makes a little more sense. So, yeah. So you definitely, that's really what's going to take you from that intermediate more to that advanced phase is now when you start manipulating your training volume, because you can only get so far with progressive overload or linear progression or linear overload over a certain period of time, like 5x5 or 5-3-1. The goal is just every month add weight to the bar. That's only going to get you so far. You can milk a lot of your strength gains with that, but then when you get to the point where now it's time to really milk out those last few pounds of strength, month to month, you might gain only a little bit. You have to manipulate your training volume, your training intensity, your frequency, everything like that. So you're going to have to go beyond that typical structure of doing like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, just because eventually you run out of time in the gym, you run out of days, so you're going to have to start doing more. So the next step I would say is track your volume, track your frequency, track your intensity, and then plan in phases where you do add more of it over time. So what you're going to do is you're slowly going to be adding in more volume. Then when you get to the point where you reach your ceiling for that time, which is a little bit more than what you're doing, you take a step back, kind of deload, go forward again. There's so many different ways to go about it. I don't know if you want to add to this too, because you definitely have a different approach than just adding more volume in.
Yeah, something like the New York Strong program would be perfect for him. It's a multiple time a week per lift. Especially after you get past that beginner stage where you're in the newbie and you can kind of get stronger after a certain amount of time, just adding weight to the bar, you have to change it up. I would recommend using daily undulating periodization, as I use that myself. And that has, honestly, like I've said earlier in this podcast, I've literally tried everything. And it wasn't until I switched to something like that that I actually started seeing results in every aspect of my body, whether it's gaining strength and just building more muscle. Daily undulating periodization, focusing on that, really, really helped me, because when I did 5-3-1 and I did 5-3-1, I did all those programs. They do work, but they kind of almost take forever to actually hit the record.
Yeah.
When you're using something like a DUP type program and you're lifting 2 to 3 times a week per lift, you can make progress that much quicker. I mean, think about it. If I was doing a lift once a week, in a month, I'd only hit squats 4 times. That would mean I only have 4 times in a month to get stronger on that lift. Whereas if I was doing something like a DUP and I'll just say I was doing that twice, I literally just doubled my volume doing that. So I would recommend picking up a program like that. I think that my dog's snoring. I don't know if you guys heard that, but I think if you picked up a program like that, it would be perfect for you, man, because you'd move up from training the lift once a week to twice a week, and you'd make a whole bunch of new progress right away really quickly.
Yeah, the funny thing is I like 5-3-1, and I think it's a great program.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of flaws in it, though.
Yeah, definitely. Depending where you are. The funny thing was, if you go and look back at our training, what we did, me and you in the gym a couple weeks ago, we actually did an entire 5-3-1 month cycle in 1 week. If you look at it, Monday we did sets of 5, Wednesday we did sets of 1s, and Fridays we did sets of 3, which is what a 5-3-1 cycle is. His order is generally the week 1 is 5, week 2 is 3s, week 3 is 1, and then the 4th week is a deload. We did that all in 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just
exactly.
There's plenty of ways to get that training in, and most of these intermediate programs have the goal of keeping you more fresh. But when you get advanced, you're going to have to go through phases where you're going to beat yourself up. It just has to be like that.
Yeah, man. So thanks for calling in your question. We really, really appreciate it. And if you're listening to this right now and you have a question, don't be afraid. We don't bite. Well, Pete might if you ask him to, but don't bite. It's 508-687-2534. Call your question in again. We love that. So thank you again for calling in. Let's take a short commercial break, man. We'll be right back.
Are you a fitness professional who wants to enter the world of online coaching? Do you have a fitness product or program that you want to reach a massive audience? Do you want to grow your social media following so large that potential clients come to you? We specialize in helping fitness businesses thrive in the online world where there's an overabundance of so-called experts. We help you stand out. We will help you using the same principles we applied that grew our business from 0 audience to over 500,000 loyal followers and thousands of online clients worldwide. If you want to dominate the online fitness world, have new clients and customers demand to work with you, and consistently get results, then let's talk. Visit NewYorkMuscleRadio.com now and click on that business tab.
Do you want to get the results you've always dreamed of? Do you want coaches that genuinely care, are professional, and get back to you in a timely manner? Do you want to be stronger, healthier, and look better naked? Then let me tell you, New York Muscle Radio is definitely your answer. Since working with them, I can hardly believe the results.
They coached me through a post-contest reverse diet and all the way through to an off-season strength program.
These two fitness geniuses have pushed me outside of my comfort zone, and in the process, I have been able to make big jumps on all of my major lifts.
In 14 weeks, I added 100 pounds to my powerlifting total and smashed my first meet.
Since working with them, I've added 55 pounds to my squat, 50 pounds to my deadlift, and 20 pounds to my bench press.
And in 12 weeks, I dropped over 10 pounds of body fat and added over 20 pounds to all my lifts.
I have never had as amazing of glutes as I have training with them. So I can say, no matter what your goals are, you're guaranteed to be stronger, healthier, and let's face it, better looking if Pete and Anthony are your coaches.
So if you are tuning in to listen and learn from the huge array of knowledge these two have, or if you want to hire them as your coaches, you will not be disappointed.
New York Muscle Radio is the best in the business.
You heard it from our New York Muscle Radio clients. Do you want to join our team and reach your fitness goals? Visit NewYorkMuscleRadio.com for all our coaching programs.
But I'll tell you what, when I'm done, my biceps are humongous. Humongous. Like that, bang!
My name is Anthony Bevilacqua, and I'm the host of New York Muscle Radio podcast. My arms have been a weak point for years. When I started training, my arms measured 11 inches. Even after many years of hardcore training, nothing would get them to grow. With the help of my co-host, Big E, we set out on a mission to gain 1 solid inch to my arms in 12 weeks.
In the greatest experiment of all.
12 weeks later, this program finally helped me get 18-inch arms. The 12-week arm experiment, the ultimate arm growth program, ebook, the audio book, and the workout video. Pick up your copy now on NewYorkMuscleRadio.com.
Damn.
Nice, Pete.
What?
I saw you checking out that girl's butt.
What? I was just checking out her yoga pants.
Pete.
I was thinking you'd look really good in yoga pants.
Uh-huh.
I was like trying to check out what brand it was. Like I was looking at her form on deadlifts. They were all messed up.
Do you think she has a nicer butt than me?
Well, it definitely doesn't look like a pancake.
Did you just call my butt a pancake?
Well, I mean...
What can I do?
You gotta try New York Muscle Radio's Glutylicious program.
Glutylicious?
Yeah, you'll finally get a celebrity booty, like all the other girls following the program.
Fine, I'll do it. But don't get jealous when other guys check out my glutylicious ass.
Glutylicious, your guide to getting a celebrity booty in 12 weeks. Now available exclusively at NewYorkMuscleRadio.com.
Hey, great coffee.
Doesn't it taste good as fresh perk?
Better.
Better than those girls make at the office?
Honey, their coffee can't hold a candle to yours.
Coffeine, the world's only instant coffee that's fortified with muscle-building protein. Visit buyproteincoffee.com now.
What's up, New York Muscle Radio listeners? It's your co-host, Big Pete Kacharian, and I'm glad you're all listening. Put down that tilapia and asparagus. Learn how to get bigger, stronger, and leaner eating what you want. Pick up a copy of Cracking the Flexible Dieting Code exclusively at NewYorkMuscleRadio.com. But for now, let's get to the show.
All right, guys, we're back. New York Muscle Radio, episode number 152, Genetic Potential. What do you do with these limits that are supposedly set on you? So what is genetic potential? So basically, genetic potential, and these questions I'm sure you've heard at some point in your lifting career, it's basically potentials that science has given us based on your height, weight, and all this stuff. This is the maximum amount you could be at this certain weight, at this certain body fat level. This is the most you could be. That's your genetic potential. That's it. There's no more to that. You have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, it's more in line with what your DNA says your body should turn out to be. You could always alter that to some degree, but there's a limit on it.
Exactly. But that's your genetic potential. And there's basically all these different calculators and all these crazy things you can do to figure out your genetic potential. So actually, I figured I have one up pulled here. I'll actually do mine and give you guys an idea. So this particular one, it's on weighttrainer.net. That's the website. And let's see. So it wants my height in inches. So if I'm 5'11", how many inches is that? 72? Wait, 5?
I think so, yeah. I could be wrong.
Is it 72? 5 times 12, 60. Oh, 71.
71, yeah.
All right, so 71 inches. And now it's asking me for my wrist in inches. So it says the circumference around your wrist just below the styloid process on the hand side. The styloid hand process is the bony lump on the outside of your wrist. So I want you to measure my wrist. So hold on, let's measure my wrist. So my wrist
just for comparison, Anthony's about the same height as me. His joints, if I had to guess, I don't have a measurement in front of me. His joints are probably larger than mine. I'm a small jointed person. So we'll get into comparisons after, but since you're going through those measurements right now, it'd be interesting to see.
And now it's asking me for my ankle. The circumference of your ankle at the smallest point between the calf and the ankle. So I guess right here, this is 10. All right, calculate. So let's see what this thing tells me. All right, so here, your maximum drug-free potential measurements. My chest. Okay, so the estimated maximum muscular measurements at 8 to 10% body fat are. My chest should be about 50 inches. I should fucking measure this. So my chest should be about 50.
It's pretty big.
It's pretty tiny. Come on, tape. They're like 46.
Yeah, 50, then, another 4 inches is pretty big, man.
Yeah, it is. So it says biceps 17.8, and mine have measured over 18. Thighs 28.4. So what the hell?
What did it say? 28.4?
Yeah, that's pretty big too.
Yeah,
my thighs are around 25 and a half, and calves it's saying 18.
I wonder what it would say for my calves, man.
My calves are on point. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So this basically gave me my maximum drug-free potential measurements for my weight and for me genetically. Now, just comparing, it says Reg Park, who was Arnold's idol, had a 52-inch chest, a 19-inch arm, forearms were 15, neck 19, quads. His quads were 28, and his calves were 18.4. So,
how heavy was Reg Park?
I don't know his weight. 250?
I think he was a big guy.
Yeah. But
so all these measurements are basically plugged into a calculator based off of a guy that they believed was natural. That's where they're getting. That's where they're getting.
I don't know if that's where they're getting that from. Then they have the other guy, John Grimmick. They have a whole bunch of things on here actually.
None of this is based off of scientific evidence. It's giving you more of a example. Okay, take somebody who we believe is natural and who we believe is probably at the epitome of, what a natural physique can, what is attainable. And we'll take your measurements based on theirs and see what kind of results you can get. And I think it's a very loosely based idea. Probably, but like I said, some of those things are a little bit out there because, Anthony has the potential to add a lot of muscle, but you know how much muscle adding 4 more inches to his chest would be? That would be a lot.
Yeah.
Same thing too with his quads. Were your quads 20 what?
25 or 26?
And they said you go up to 28, right?
Yeah.
So 25, 26, so 2
or
3
want
more
my quads
inches.
bigger.
Yeah, he's got some big quads. Like my quads I don't know what my quads are, but they're nowhere near his size. So, the difference between my quads and his quads is probably the same amount of him going from his quads to 28. So there's a big difference there. So those measurements, just to give you a good idea, There's probably most people who would plug their information in there that are natural probably wouldn't pass those numbers if I had to guess. But then again, for me, probably if I put my numbers in there, it would say my arms should be smaller than what mine are.
Yeah, it's true.
Because my joints are smaller than yours. My height is the same. My weight is lower. So theoretically, my arm mass should be smaller. But everybody has different genetic predispositions, and joints is just one part of the equation.
That's why I hate these things, because it doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't understand how my wrist, ankle, and my height have anything to do with anything else on this list.
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense. And some people use these things as like, all right, that's the goal that I got to get to. And yeah, having 18-inch arms is good, but I'm pretty sure if I really focused on growing my arms more, I can get them bigger than that.
Yeah. I mean, you had less than 18-inch arms for a long time, and you didn't focus on them. And then when you focused on them, you were able to make them grow. So joints are going to tell you, we'll get into this a little bit after, but joints are able to tell you one part of what your genetic predisposition is. Generally, the larger jointed you are, the more muscle you should theoretically be able to put on that frame. But again, that's one part of the equation. We got to talk about what your genetic makeup is, what type of parents you had as far as their body composition, a lot of other things too. You could have a small jointed person, but they might be very tall. That's going to be different as opposed to someone short with large joints. So there's so many different things. This calculator, I think, really just focuses solely on your height and your joint size.
All right, now, I came across another chart that I want to run by you guys too. And this is another one of these things that also help you determine your genetic potential. So this is the potential rate of muscle gain per year. So basically, this is what's saying. This is how much muscle, this is the max amount of muscle you can gain in 1 year of training when you first start. So your first year of training, you can gain 20 to 25 pounds of solid muscle mass in your first year. Then your second year, it's going to drop off. Your second year of training consistently, 10 to 12 pounds of muscle. In your third year, it's going to be between 5 and 6 pounds of muscle. And in 4+ years, anywhere between 1 and 3 pounds. I fucking hate this chart, man. I hate this chart so much because it's so like, I don't know if it's true or not, but I fucking hate it.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, first of all, it's a very stupid chart because that's following the idea that every single person is training the exact same way and every single person is dieting the exact same way. Obviously, if your training sucks, you're not going to put 20 pounds of muscle on in the first year. If your training is on point, you can definitely do that. If your training sucks and you train the same way forever, you're not going to continually make progress. You might make progress in the beginning and then that's it. There's plenty of people that join a gym, get a few pounds of muscle on their frame and then never change, and they go to the gym for years doing the same thing over and over again. So I do believe, though, you can take somebody who's never touched a weight before and put 20 to 30 pounds of muscle on them in the beginning, in that first year or maybe the first 2 years, provided you have them training optimally and eating. You can make them grow like a weed in the first year. But then I'd say once you pass those newbie gains of that initial 20 pounds, you're looking at like 5 pounds a year realistically for most people. Again, there's genetic anomalies. There's people that will continue to grow. There are people that grow faster during their later years. But most people I see, they look very similar after 1 year of hard training as they do throughout the rest of their entire career. It's more refinement after that.
Yeah, and definitely when you're natural too. I mean, you definitely reached a point of where you're not really drastically changing your body. But you can't sit there and tell me that no matter how much hard work I put in, I'm only going to gain 1 pound of solid muscle a year. I hate to believe that to be true.
Yeah, and again, that's going to be individual, because there'll be people that train hard who have the genetics to build a lot of muscle that will surpass that. Then there'll be people who train moderately hard and they have shitty genetics. They might not even get the 1 pound, So there's a lot that goes into it. Using you as an example, you're probably one of the hardest workers I know as far as training and nutrition and just nailing it year after year and just being consistent. But your genetics are obviously going to limit you, and that's what we're talking about with this. Your genetic predisposition, I'd say, to strength is probably greater than the average person, but to muscle gain, it's probably on par with the average person. So, depending on.
So you think I should just stop lifting?
No, I'm saying if you want to keep getting stronger, no matter how much.
My goal was. You can be honest with me, man. I can take it. I'm not a fluffy person. You could. If I wanted to gain as much muscle as possible, forget strength a second.
Yeah.
How much muscle do you think I could add in a year if I really took that to be a goal?
Right now?
Yeah.
Probably. I'd say probably like 2 or 3. is like a solid number of actual muscle, not weight gain. Like let's say you went through a bulking phase, dieted down, you can net about 3 pounds of muscle, I'd say, at this point.
Yeah, I'd say that's about right.
Yeah, 3 pounds. People don't realize it though.
I've been training for 4+ years.
Yeah, 3 pounds of muscle on a physique that does not change in body fat is a lot different. You can see 3 pounds of muscle. That's a lot of muscle. You know, if you look at any type of meat, you know, an 8-ounce steak is a large amount of steaks. Now, if you take 3 pounds, you're looking at what is that? 6 of those?
Yeah,
you know, six 8-ounce steaks put on his biceps is gonna be it's gonna be a lot of muscle, guys.
Exactly. So how accurate are all these charts and graphs then? I mean, I personally think it's a good general marker for people, but I don't think it's the end all be all. And I would never recommend using these as the end all be all.
Yeah. Plus, you don't want that idea in your head. If a chart tells you you're only going to put 1 pound of muscle on, how hard are you realistically going to train? How hard are you going to diet? Oh, you know, I can only put 1 pound on. But if you really try to eke out whatever you can and just let the results be what they may, you'll be surprised. You could probably do a lot more than what that chart says. Now, if you're somebody who does their measurements for the first time and their chart says, listen, you can get up to 18-inch arms, but you start off with 12-inch arms or something like that, there's a distinct possibility it's not in your genetic potential to get to 18-inch arms.
I did.
Is that what you started?
Mine were 11 inches. You made the commercial, man.
So how? Yes, they were 11 inches. How? No, but see, now this is a good example. How long ago were they 11 inches versus 18? Like, what's the time frame in between?
Well, I mean, they were 11 when I started training.
Okay, so when did you start training?
So I went from 11. I went from 11 to
I know
like
it's not
linear.
I know it's not going to be linear. Yeah.
So I went from like 11 to within my first like year to 2 years of training to like 14.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
And then from there, forget it, man. It took me forever. Then I competed. So I would say that's from 14 to 16, I would say like 2 years for that in addition.
Mm-hmm.
And then it took me the rest of the time to get to 18 pretty much.
Right, yeah. So if you look at it...
but then I didn't know how to train either. That was the other difference.
But if you look at it consecutively, the gains are never going to be linear. You're going to hit, like you said, you're going to get big results in the beginning. Then you're going to make a little bit more progress. Then you're kind of going to be stuck there for a long time. Then you might eke out a little bit more. So you started training. How long has it been now? It's been well over 10 years, right?
Oh, yeah, well over 10 years.
So let's just round it and say 10 or 11 years. So it took you 10 or 11 years to grow your arms 7 inches. 7 inches is a lot. But if you show a newbie that and they say, okay, his genetic potential is 7 more inches, you might not realize, all right, it might take you 11 years to do that.
Yeah.
And that's 11 years. That's 11 years of consistent, hard training. It's not, I've been going to the gym for 11 years, 3 times a week. I go for a half hour. Like, not like that. It's like I tried making muscle building a priority for 11 years straight, you know?
Yeah, it's true. It's so true, man. It's a good point when you bring it up like that. It's so true. Not many people want to do that either. So they just kind of like said, they go on something like this and they say, oh, this is my potential to do this.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't understand what that potential actually means. And I honestly think I could probably gain another inch and a half to my arms relatively quick if I made it a priority.
Right, and that's the other thing, too. That's not even a focus of yours right now. So it's not going to accidentally happen, especially this far in. So if you need to really push the upper limits of your genetic potential, you have to put every single thing into it because your body doesn't want to get to that point. It's going to fight you the whole way.
This is going to lead us into our next point now. Everybody has different muscle insertions and how your muscles kind of look on your body. So me and Pete actually have the same size arms, but Pete's arms actually look significantly bigger than me. And it's because they're shaped completely different than me. He has fuller biceps than me, but where I might have higher biceps than him.
Yeah.
I might have higher peaks than him. So that's what gives me my measurements, the height, but not so much the width. Pete has big, thick biceps. So this is just goes to show you guys that you can have, and we're using arms, for example, a lot today, but you can have 18-inch arms, but they could still not look as big as someone else who has 18-inch arms with better genetic muscle insertions.
Yeah, the muscle insertions is really what creates a good bodybuilder.
Good look.
Somebody who's successful that looks like a great bodybuilder, a lot of times they might not have as much muscle as another bodybuilder, but they look overall more aesthetically pleasing because their muscle insertions are just better. And what I mean by that is generally those are always those long muscle insertions, and in most cases smaller joints as well, because they look bigger on smaller joints. But as far as the potential, the genetic potential for growth, the longer muscle insertions are always going to have more of a capacity to grow bigger. So what you'll see a lot of times, and this is something that Anthony has to deal with just based on genetics, is he's genetically an ectomorph. We spoke about that on one of the podcasts. And ectomorphs, arms, because we're talking about that, a lot of times ectomorphs have those short bicep insertions. So when you see them flex, their bicep doesn't really insert from the shoulder all the way down into the elbow. It might stop like halfway through, and then you can kind of put your fingers between the bicep and the elbow, and there's a little gap. So those short bicep insertions, a lot of times, they just don't have the genetic potential to get very large. My flaw, not with biceps, so my biceps go from shoulder right into the elbow, which is why they naturally grow bigger, and they have that good shape to them. My flaw is my calves. I have very, very high calf insertions. There's like, I could probably put both of my hands around the bottom of my calves where the top of my calves actually stop from the bottom. There's a lot of room in there. Now, Anthony has large calves. His calves almost go directly into his ankle, So, at least his gastrocnemius. The soleus is going to go all the way down, but the gastrocnemius is that almost tennis ball type shape on the top. Yeah.
The hamburger.
So that nice little meaty part of the calf on me is almost just underneath my kneecap. It doesn't go anywhere near my ankle. So my calves are naturally smaller just because of where those muscle insertions are. So if you want to take a look at any body part you have, see where it inserts from both ends. If it has long insertion points, those are generally going to be your muscles that will grow the fastest, grow the most, and pop out and look the best as well. If you have short insertions, a lot of times those are going to be your troublesome parts.
And you can even look at bodybuilders back in the day. Look at Arnold. He had the high peaks on his biceps, so that's why his biceps looked tremendous. But his biceps also inserted at the bottom almost too, like what Pete was saying. So he had the thickness and the height on his biceps. So that's why he had such a winning combination there. I mean, again, look at genetics with his chest. His chest was genetically very big and genetically very proportioned and fanned out correctly. And when he flexed his chest, it just popped up. And this is why he looked so great as compared to his calves that weren't, again, like Pete said. So your muscle insertions are going to tell the whole story, but it's your job, regardless of muscle insertions, it's your job to work as hard as you possibly can to grow that body part. And again, look at me. For instance, my arms, like we said, we talked about this so many times in this podcast. One of my body parts that I hate the most, but I still train them as hard as I can because I'm still I got to keep up with this guy over here. So I got to grow them. But again, I was able to accomplish 18-inch arms. For someone that had 11-inch arms to 18, that's a huge jump. And yeah, they may not look as impressive as his, but they still look impressive. So you have to really, aside from all this stuff, what science tells you can get and what God gave you, it's your job to work and make it different. That's the way I look at it. God gave me these insertions, and thank you, God, for them. I'm going to take I'm going to take them, and I'm going to run with them, and I'm going to do the best job that I can to grow them as big or whatever, big, whatever you're trying to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And the muscle insertions, just remember, guys, that's in your genetic makeup. You're not going to be able to change your muscle insertions. So there's not an exercise you could do to fill out that part of the bicep where it doesn't attach. That's where the muscle attaches. You can make them bigger regardless of that, but if you're gifted with the genetic potential with longer muscle insertions, generally those muscles are going to get larger better than someone else or faster than someone else that doesn't have those.
Exactly. All right. So now what about bone? We talked about bone structure a little bit, but again, bone structure and joint size is also going to play a different role in how your body looks. For some people who have thicker bones, you may be a lot stronger than someone who has, smaller bones. But at the same time, someone with smaller joints, their muscles actually appear a little bit bigger because they insert down to smaller joints. So looking at Pete's arm, Pete has very small wrists. I bet you his wrists are smaller than mine. But his biceps are big, and he looks a lot bigger because his body inserts down to a smaller joint size. So as you can see, for a bodybuilder, that's really, really good. Whereas for a powerlifter, it's not good at all.
Right. And see, that also limits myself on the amount of strength because my joints are not made to handle.
And I just want to say something. So that limits him, right? Quote unquote limits him, but that doesn't stop him.
Right, exactly.
There's two different things there. There's limits and there's stopping.
Right. And a good example, too, is, and I always find this hilarious. So Anthony has a video of when he was, how old were you when you bench pressed like 275?
I was like 15.
He's like 15. 14. Do you know how long it took me to bench 275? I don't think I hit 275 till I was like, I don't know, 19, 20, probably 20, 21 maybe. 275? I can't remember. I hit 225 when I was 17 years old.
Yeah.
So 15 more pounds was still a stretch for me. Because, and arguably we probably trained with the same amount of intensity in our early teenage years. We started training roughly at the same time. Anthony got to a higher strength potential a lot faster than me because structurally his body was built to handle heavier weights. He has those larger joints. Then he has those stronger muscles that follow with those large joints. I didn't, but mine actually kind of grew larger in certain areas because of the shape or the appearance. They appeared larger. So anyway, based on your joint structure, if you have large joints, what's happened is your leverages are always going to be better, number one. And number two, your body's going to compensate by putting stronger muscles on those larger joints. So those stronger muscles are going to help you lift heavier loads. Now, with the appearance, if your goal is strictly just to put large muscles on, having those smaller joints are actually going to make you look bigger with your muscles, but the stronger joints and the larger joints are actually going to enable you to be stronger. So you can look at somebody before they ever touch a weight, and if they're large jointed, generally what that means is that they'll have a higher predisposition to get strong very fast. If they're small jointed, a lot of times it can go either way. You could look at them and they might have the potential to actually grow a lot of muscle, but you might not notice it. But the one thing you can see is generally they're probably not going to be the strongest people, generally.
Yeah, now I'm thinking now as we're talking about this, I'm thinking back to when I was a kid, and I always kind of intuitively knew this. Like I always kind of knew one of my things was I don't want to get strong. I don't care. I want to just look like I lift. So now asking you this question, because I probably would have if this podcast would have been around, I would have called in and asked this question. I would have called the number 508-687-2534, and I would have called this question in. But I would have said, Big Pete, if I want to get arms like you, and I really want to fill out my frame, and I don't care about strength, what do I do? What do I focus on?
You have to focus on arms. And when I say focus on arms, like that should be...
All right, wait. So hold on. Let me rephrase that question. Yeah. If I want my muscles to actually grow and I want to appear like I look like I lift, what should I be incorporating into my training if I didn't want to get stronger? If my goal was strictly muscle gain to actually look like I lift.
Right. Well, they generally go hand in hand. So I don't think that you should neglect anything that you would be doing if your goal was strength, but you have to put size as a priority first. So what that means is you're going to want to, like I said, you're going to want to focus on arms. If that's is that the only thing you want to grow, or do you want to just focus on those above everything else?
No, I just said arms just because we've been
so
talking about arms.
Yeah, let's say
the whole upper body.
Right, you want to do the whole upper body, but you want to focus maybe on arm growth or just growing your upper body. So that has to become a priority over everything else. So you need to focus on that first. So you want to train those the most frequently. So let's say you're training muscle groups twice a week. You want to make sure you're definitely training that body part at least twice a week. But you want to put an emphasis on training it first. You don't want to make it an afterthought. Like a lot of times people train arms. They might do back and then do biceps. They might do chest and then triceps.
That's not true. My arms actually grew doing that.
Yeah, but arguably you could have gotten better results not doing that. And I still stand to this day that if you guys are going to run that arm program, do it fresh. Don't do it after a muscle group. But Anthony wanted to outdo exactly what I said in the program, which is do it first. I wrote it in there. Do it first or do it on its own day. And he said, well, I still want to gain strength, so I got to do my strength stuff first and then do it. So that's just proof you can do it, but trust me, you'll get better results faster if you focus on it. It's like that with everything in life. If you're trying to improve any part of your life, it needs to be the primary focus above everything else. You'll see results in that before you see results in the other things. If it's an afterthought, you're going to probably get half the results. So anyway, you want to do those first. So like arms should be your priority when you walk in the gym. Train arms on their own day or train them first, and then blast them with as much weight as you can and as much volume as you can that you could tolerate at that time. That's 90% of the equation. And then from there, it's all about fine tuning and improving based on what you're currently doing and doing more or doing less based on what you need.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And again, you're just using these things as markers. And like I said, we're going over this, and I'm kind of getting a little frustrated just talking about it because I've always ignored this for so long because I hate these things. I hate when someone tells me I can't do something and you're limited to this. I hate that. I absolutely can't stand it. So one of the things, I guess this is why I've gravitated toward powerlifting training, is strength has no limits. There's no limits to how much you could you could bench, squat, or deadlift, or whatever, even an overhead press, or whatever the movement is. Strength has no limits. So yeah, Pete, maybe he had a trouble getting to 275. That doesn't mean he can't get stronger. That doesn't mean he can't push that bench to 315 and beyond that. It might take him a little longer, but he'll get there. So you got to remember, this is one of the things. Don't focus on these stupid calculators and all these other crappy formulas that there are on there. Just focus on being a better you and executing. Because remember, like we said earlier, you have no limits. The only limit is the one you set on yourself.
Yeah, and a good mentality to have when you're trying to get stronger is, a lot of times someone say, "Oh, I squat 4 plates. I can't get to 5. That's really far away." But you could always, no matter where your strength is, you can always improve 5 more pounds. And then it's those 5 pounds over time that add up to 5 plates. So with strength, a lot of times people look at that end goal. Okay, I got to get to 5 plates. Oh, that's a long ways away. But you know what? You could always add 5 pounds to a lift.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. Well, that was the genetic potential episode. Hopefully you guys took some stuff away from that and you focus on not focusing on the genetic potentials. Don't actually worry about what your potential is. Just go out and get it and set your own limits in your head. Don't let other people tell you your limits. All right, guys. Go ahead, man.
Pete and Anthony, New York Muscle Radio, and we're out.
Enjoyed this episode of New York Muscle Radio? Make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave us a 5-star review, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, New York Muscle Radio.